Okay, so this is where we left off, and we're gonna make our other blocks, but now we're gonna go a lot faster, okay? Because from here on out, a lot of the stuff's gonna be repeat. So I'm gonna make one other block, and then I'm gonna kind of set you guys free so that you guys can fly and figure out the other stuff, because we're getting to the point where we've gone through most of the tools, and it's time to just start applying them and figuring out how to apply them. So I'm gonna make one more block. I'm gonna go through it quick, and then from there on out you're going to make the other two kind of on your own. So remember that you will probably have to reference last week's if you don't remember all these steps, or if you need them to be slower steps. So let's get going. Alright, so first thing I want to do is I'm going to just delete the history on this, and the other thing I want to do is I'm going to fix my pivot and move it into the positive space, because I didn't do that last week. I just wanted to keep things simple for the tutorial's sake, but now we should really have our pivot down in the corner here, so that when we could snap like blocks on top of each other so that they're sitting perfectly. So it just makes things better for when we're building a scene, because we are going to take these blocks and we're going to make a more complex scene out of the blocks we have. So let's go ahead and let's get our pivot out. So we'll hit W, and we can see this is where our pivot's at. And we're going to go ahead and I'm going to go to my front view, if I can. Front view. Okay, back up here. I was lagging there. Okay, so let's do this. So I'm going to hit D on my keyboard, so now my pivot's live. I'm going to hold V, and I'm going to snap it down to this vert right here. It's still in the middle, actually, it should be, and then I'm going to go on just one axis and snap it down to the bottom vert. So I just hold my cursor over here. And you guys know how to snap pivots around, or at least you should by now. And you can see it kind of snapped off the front here, but we're going to have to go in the top view too. I actually want it in the back here, so I'm going to hold V again, start snapping it back, and make sure it's right there. And now you can see, if you really look at it, look at the crosshairs, it's perfectly in the bottom corner there. Let's just double check it again in front. Yep, it's perfectly in the bottom corner. So now you hit D again, and you're unsnapping it. Okay, so if I go ahead and take this and go hold X, and I'm just gonna snap it in the grid up there. And let's look and make sure we're at. Okay, so we want to be in the positive space. So let's hold X again. We'll snap right there. So when I say positive space, I mean that right now in the Y, this block is in the positive space. In the Z, it's in the positive Z space. And in the X, it's in the positive space. Let's also move our reference as well. So we're just kind of eyeballing this. We don't have to have it super exact, but we can actually just hold X again and just snap it right there. There we go. Pretty close. Not totally perfect, but it's pretty good. So we'll just leave it like that. Okay, so next step. All right, let's freeze these transformations, because as you can see right now, the translation and the Y translator are way off. So we'll go ahead and freeze the transformations. That zeroes it out. That means that anytime we move anything from this point here, all we have to do is zero it out, and it will come right back to where its original spot was. Scale works a little bit different though, because it starts off at 1, so you just have to put 1 in the scale if you want to get it back to the first scale. Okay, so now we want to get another reference in here, so we're going to first let's go ahead and hide this unit block. Let's take this guy, duplicate it, Control D, and then I'm going to go ahead and put that in a new layer. So just click on the layer while I had it selected, and double click here, and we'll call this ref underscore unit block 01, and I'll put bevel after it, because this one's going to actually be beveled, so it'll let me know which one it is. LYR. And I might use this again, so I'll just copy that, make it yellow because I do that for my references, and so now it's up here, but I want to move it down 1 so that the yellows are together, so all the references are together, and I'll hide the original one. Okay, so this is my new one. So we need a new material for it because we want a different texture to show up. So let's go into our material palette, and let's make a new Lambert, and let's change this Lambert to M underscore Well, let's use that unit block 01 like that, and we'll just get rid of the layer there. So now we're going to click on our color swatch here, go to the file, click on the file again, and then we go into our references and we'll find that bevel cut one. So here's that bevel cut, say open, and then we can close this. We select this plane and we'll right click and go assign existing material, and we'll do it that one. Okay, now you notice there's a problem because our pivot point's in the wrong spot because this texture is different. Well, that's okay. We can fix this two ways. We can either move the pivot point down here and re-snap it up to here. Let's just actually snap the pivot right to the center again. Or we can actually just grab the face here and we can actually just move this face up because, oops. Now we could do that, but we have our preserve UVs on. Let's turn that off. Okay, now let's do that again. So, and then we can just move this so it's sitting right in the corner like so. And then hit W. So now what happens is that on the object level, the pivot's in one spot. But when you go into the component level, it's going to usually pick the center of the component unless you do like a temporary override, hit D on your keyboard and move it or something. So now it's right there for now until I deselect it. And if I go back into my faces now, it'll be in the center again. So you can temporarily move the pivot even in component mode, but normally it sticks to the center. But in the object mode, it'll be wherever you tell it. So you can move the component around and the object will keep its pivot in the center or wherever you put it. Okay, just a little tidbit. So that's two different ways you can basically move your pivot around, sort of. Now that we've got that there, let's get our initial box out and we'll go ahead and size this the right way. So if you remember, it was 7 in the height, 7 centimeters, and then it was 3.5 in both the width and depth. And then of course we want to move our pivot for this thing as well. In this case, since we have a point right here in the corner, all we have to do is hit D and then hold V and then just snap it to that point and hit D again. And now we can just take this, hold X, and snap that up to the 0, 0, 0, which is right there. And so now these are aligned properly. Now you can tell this is not obviously right, but what we can do from here is just scale this so that it matches our block, because we know these blocks are roughly all the same size. And so yeah, 0.53 or so ish is close. Let's see if we can get a little bit closer. I think that's even better because you can see that just the top is showing right there, and that should be pretty good. Okay, so we'll just leave it like that. Okay, so we select this guy. Let's go ahead and put that in a layer. So we will just paste in that that text that we copied earlier. I'll get rid of the ref part. Unit block 01 bevel layer, make it black, say save. Okay, so now we've got that. We've got that. All right, let's bevel this. So we just want to bevel one edge. So this is the only thing that's different between the other one. It's just kind of changing this part. So we'll go ahead and hit bevel. And by default, it goes to 0.5, which actually, because we're doing unit blocks, it pretty much works out perfect. So if you were to hide this and bring it back, it's almost the exact same size. They kind of worked that out in, when they were making these children's blocks, was to like make things so that they were pretty much a certain size that they matched up. You could tell this is a little bit off, but pretty much that's it's close. It's right where we want it for our purposes. Okay, now let's go ahead and bevel these edges. So for this one, we can just bevel these edges by hitting bevel again, and you'll see that it's a little bit much, but if we fiddle with it a little bit, like 0.3 or so, and give it an extra segment, we will get results just like our other block. And that looks pretty nice. So let's go ahead and go to object mode. Let's go to our display, mesh display, and say soften edge. And let's take a look. That looks really good, but we have a problem. Does anybody notice it? We have a 5-sided poly here and here, and we don't want that. Now, if we're making a game model, we might just go ahead and go to these 2 vertices here, connect them, and you'd have a triangle and a quad up here, and you'd be okay. As long as it was a static object, you would be fine with that. But for this one, we're going to do it more of a film style, so let's keep it all quads. So it's going to be more like film animation style. So let's just, we'll even go into our front view, see if we can get it really nice and straight. So I'm just holding control, and I'm going to drop an edge loop in here, like so, and then I'm going to go ahead and just connect those with an edge, and let's go to the back side, and we can hide this for right now. We're done with that, actually. And we can just click there, hit enter, and there you go. So that's the modeling part. It's all quads, 4-sided, and pretty good. Yep, that's gonna work. So let's leave it like that, and let's get into doing the UVs. So let's go to our UV view. So jump into here, UV editing. So far nothing's been much different from the first one, other than we just beveled one edge, you know, and then we obviously built it with the pivot down there, but that's not really changing our modeling process. So let's grab all of these, and we'll just put our unwrap on there, our automatic planar projection, multi-plane projection, I think that's what it's called. And then from here, the planar projection is going to be a little bit off, so we're going to hit unfold, and you can see they stretched out a little bit, so that's better. Then we'll hit orient shells, and then the orient shells will straighten everything out. And then we will hit Q on our keyboard. It'll just drop the tool. And so what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to pick kind of like our binding edge. Well, not our binding edge. Our basically our center point from which we're going to start attaching the extra pieces onto, so that they're all one piece. So I'm going to use this part right here. This is going to be the best part. So you'll see why in a second. So we'll go to edges, and I'll just double click. No, that's not the right way. Let's just we'll grab it right here in the viewport. So like that, and you can see that edge is like pretty much perfectly aligned up. And I will just go ahead and say, what am I looking for? Stitch together, that's what I wanted. And I'll do the same thing over here. Actually, I think I want so. Is it so? No, I want stitch together. That's what I want. Sometimes I forget which one I'm using, yeah. One of them moves one to the other one of them like stretches between the two. So the stitch together stretches between the two. Or I'm sorry, the so stretches between the two. Stitch together will actually move the other one over here. So you can see how that just worked. Okay. So and then I just grab these edges, like so, and that's up here in front. And what that'll do is that'll bring this edge over here. You can see it's already highlighted. That'll bring that over here. So we just hit stitch together, boom, comes up. And then if I grab these, you'll see that this is this edge here. So you don't want to stitch this together, because if you do that, it'd actually be like wrapping itself around itself, and nah, that's not what you want. Then the next thing you want to do is you want to, like this flap right here, the way that this bevels, you're not going to be able to connect that the same way as you connect everything else. You're just going to have to basically leave some open edges. And the reason why you have to do that is because it won't relieve the tension if you try to connect everything. So you'll have like a stretched, warped polygon. So we don't want that. So we're just going to go ahead and hit stitch together. It's going to move that point there. And then we got the bottom part right here, which is this guy right here. So we'll just go and select that, and hit stitch together. Boom, there it is. Let's orient it, straightens it out. We can hit layout, and it'll move it in the middle here. And there we go. Now, if I was going to 3D paint this object, this is how I would want it laid out. Maybe a little bit scaled in, just to make sure that we had a little padding along the edges. But the thing that we're going to do, though, is a little bit different. We're going to use that same texture we used before. So I'm going to go to assign existing material and put on the unit wood and give it a second. And so now what we need to do is we're actually going to take the top and the bottom and break those off into the ends here. and then we'll take this center piece and put it into the sides like we did before. Okay, so it's basically kind of the same process. So let's actually go to edge, and we'll just double click on these two edges and hit cut. And I know I sewed them together, and it seems like that was kind of a waste of time at this point. But I had a reason why I did it. I just wanted to show you what my layout would be if I was going to like 3D paint this. So let's just get these out of here for now. So we know they're off of there. Let's just scale everything down. Oops, didn't get it all. Try that one more time. Scale everything down. I'm gonna do a rotation on this. So hold J. If your snap is not on, then just hold J. If you want to just turn your snap on, you can come into set snap here in the tool settings and say on. But I'm just going to toggle it by holding J. So I'm going to go like this, hold J, toggles it on. You can see it just turned on, and then I let go, and then it's off. Now I'm going to move it over to here, try to center it a little bit, and then I'm just going to scale this so I can get it all fitting in the center. And move it down. Now, of course, I'm aware of the wood grain. That's really one of my main concerns here. And I'm going to basically do something like that. There we go. I think it looks pretty cool. Okay, so you can see now the wood grain, but then we got to get the ends correct. So I'm just going to grab this end, maybe move it up here. See how we're getting this black edge here? That's because it's outside of that little range, so we have to scale it down so it's a little bit inside of it. And we can say, yeah, that'll work. Let's go ahead and rotate this. Sometimes you want to see if you can match up the wood grain so it looks properly. And the only way to really kind of get a good feel for how wood goes together is you really have to stop and like actually go out and get some blocks and examine them and look at them, or you know, something like that. Just go and look at wood and see how cross sections look versus the other sides, and that's going to let you know. It just takes some observation. So if you haven't observed this kind of stuff before, that would be the way to do it. Just go out and like take a gander and see, you know, what it looks like with the cross section. And I've done it a lot, so I kind of already know how these things would look together. But at this point, I'm not being too picky with it, because if I really wanted to do this and paint the seams out, I would just go into a 3D program like Mari or Substance Painter. Probably Substance Painter for something like this. Mari's probably Mari's kind of like overkill for this kind of thing. But Substance Painter is actually a really good program and is a little bit more accessible. Yeah, so this is cool. This will work. I don't know, I kind of feel like this piece doesn't work yet, so I'm going to just move it around a little bit and see if I can find a better spot. Maybe there's a spot that matches better. Let's try this one right here. Or how about this one? I feel like if this was flipped, so if I just went like that, it might be better. Okay, I'm just being a little picky just because that's me. And we'll deselect it and deselect the whole thing, and there you go. Oh, what do we do here? We still got a little black spot. Let's come in here and look. Yep, see that? It's just overhanging a tiny bit, and that's a problem. So we want to do this. And now it's not. There you go. All right, so that's how you do one of these. Okay, and when you get done, you get this far, let's go ahead and actually go back to our classic view, and I'm going to delete the history. I'm going to freeze my transformations, and now, you know, if I bring out my other block, you can see right there how these are basically perfectly fitting together. I can hold V on my keyboard and I can snap it right to the top of this block, and now we can start building little blocks, castle stuff. Okay, so what's the rest of this assignment? The rest of the assignment is to take this sheet, and you want to build this piece and this piece. Now, there's not reference for these, but from what we've already done, you should be able to figure out how to do these two pieces. The one thing that you might not know is how to just do some tricks with your cylinder UVs, and I'm going to show you that right now. So let's go ahead and go to UV editing. Now a cylinder comes with UVs, so you can see it right here, but these UVs are not necessarily a good representation of what's going on in here. So if I went to face and went to unfold and hit unfold, you can see like it's definitely not the right aspect ratio. Now it's better. So that's one way that you can try to deal with that, but I also want to show that if you just select the cylindrical parts, not the top and bottom, you have a cylindrical unwrap right here, and you can use that to unwrap cylindrical parts. But even when you do that, you may still need to unfold it, as you can see, and then orient it again. Another way that you could also try that works too is you could always use your automatic unwrap, but what's going to happen is you have your splits in here, and with the splits you have to go ahead and stitch these back together. So you'd have to sew them, stitch together, sorry, there we go, stitch together and stitch these together, and then again you'd have to take these and do an unfold so that they're nice and balanced, and then just reorient them. Take everything, reorient, and put it in the shell, or the UV 0 to 1 space, and then you'd be good. And so that's just some tips on how to unwrap a cylinder, and other than that, you should be good to go. All right, thanks for watching.